security, but then if it is made compulsory, do you think it will address these issues to a greater extent?
There are a couple of, excuse me. Yeah, just answering your question. Yes, of course, it would definitely help if VVMs are introduced insofar as the integrity of the vaccine is concerned. It per se, it's just a meter which tells you whether the particular vial has undergone any excursion in temperatures on the plus side. There's no VVM which has yet been developed which will show whether the vaccine vial has undergone any sub-zero temperatures. The point that I would like to make over here is that since it's just a meter indicating the excursions in temperatures, it's not some kind of a, assurance that your vaccine is has been maintained in cold chain and that enhances the cold chain or something like that. So before the vial is opened, at least you know what it has suffered, what temperature, in case if it is beyond the stipulated temperature zone. It does definitely give value, but again, it's a matter of perception because it's UNICEF which insists that all the vaccines that are supplied should carry VVMs, and the Pan American Health Organization does not insist. So again, you have a situation where one UN agency does not follow the guidelines of WHO, which the other agency follows. Though, of course, it does not mean that they do not have any cold chain monitoring device. Each one has electronic device options been given. And if that particular package carries the electronic device, then that's sufficient for it. Because once the packages reach the destination, normally they are sort of deconstructed in such a way that the outer boxes are taken off and only the inner boxes are kept inside the cold rooms, unless they're retransported immediately at the destination. So to that extent, I would say that it's really the choice of the countries and they have to really decide whether they want it or not.
I have a question to Mr. Harish. Is there any difference between lyophilized and liquid vaccines as far as the thermostability is concerned?
I think that's a probably vaccine specific question. It's probably a specific to the vaccine under consideration as far as I can tell. I can't think offhand of any fundamental way of classifying these two. But presumably lyo, should be more stable. Again, depends on the temperature excursion, I suppose.
WHO has classified three categories, Class A, Class B, and Class C. You have polio vaccine in Class A, which is minus 20 degrees centigrade, which it should be maintained. And then you have in Class B, which is all the lyophilized vaccines, and in Class C is the liquid vaccines. So this table, they have provided that, let's say Class B and Class C should have an ideal temperature zone of +2 to +8. And as I mentioned, Class A, which is polio, is minus 20 or below than that. So this is the category that the WHO has already stated in its guidelines for packaging.
I had a question coming back to the electricity supply and intermittent part of it. ILRs are probably pushed even by IAP, saying that they are the best interventions that are available in a electricity scenario that India has. What would be your comments on that?
It is all about preparedness of the end user in terms of storing. So it is not just the cold rooms that are sitting into the district headquarters and the divisional depots, but it is also the fridges that are sitting into the respective hospitals where these camps are being taken. So I think infrastructure, if we really want to elaborate on, there will be a lot of such case studies or examples that we can elaborate on. But I think going back to your question, the last question, that how and as Harish said that the second step is surely to develop the vaccines which are more thermostable. But I think my strong advocate, I will strongly advocate that the government of India should get into the shoes of WHO, that they start taking the custody of these vaccines as soon as they leave the manufacturer's premises, and thereon establish a system to actually take care of these vaccines which they have paid money and procured, and ensure that they are taken to the end user very safely. And industry is more than happy, will be more than happy to deliver it, because they will be really reducing lot of their unproductive time on the investigation. And typically with the Indian regulatory system coming out with very stringent requirements for the adverse event filings, etc., I think industry would be more than interested to take it forward and help in this particular initiative.
My follow-up question would be again to Mahesh. You have been working a lot hands-on and grounds-on experience. So could you tell us some low-cost interventions that could really bring up or solve to a great degree these issues of cold chain compromise? Some innovative kind of thing would you like to address?
That's Harish Fort, obviously, because he's a R&D guy. But there are many companies which are doing like a transdermal patches, etc., which probably have it's all about the cold chain occupancy everywhere that determine the cost of the vaccine and the transportation cost. So I think, obviously when you have, the multi-dose vials getting into, or the combination vaccines getting into, these are the much better ways to reduce the cold chain, also cater to the larger market and take care of this particular issue. And frankly speaking, when we talk about the public markets in India and the supplies that are going to the market in India, they are at so rock bottom price that no one can think of a low cost intervention more than that in terms of delivering this to the final end user, who is just sitting across 2,000 kilometers from you, frankly speaking.
I have a couple of questions before wrapping it up and leaving it open to the audience. One is that it's a common perception that multinational companies insist for data loggers and maybe other electronic surveillance equipments, but not so with Indian companies. Would we have some comments on that?
It is unfair to say that. The reason is, if it's all about what kind of infrastructure that the receiving end has. First, you can surely have something like a Temptel, which is considered to be the most reliable mechanism of downloading the data during the shipment, but it is of no use if the receiving end doesn't have an ability to download it and an education level to take care of that. So you will end up in one more mess which will be difficult to take care of. So I think somewhere we are going back to, apart from education and sensitivity, we are going back to infrastructure as the first level issue, and definitely the more R&D innovative solutions for these thermostable vaccines and different new drug delivery systems for vaccines are probably the answer to take care of that. But again, they are not cost effective. They have to be at the cost.
Yeah. So it's a second last question which I have for Dr. Dodwadkar. In terms of one good business practice which is prevalent abroad, is there one thing which he would like to share with audience as to this is one specific area which should be taken care of, which is not maybe prevalent in India?
Well, I'm not knowing exactly whether this is prevalent completely in India, I mean in different places in India, but in many places UNICEF has played a very active role in donating solar powered refrigerators, and that could also add to, let's say, the infrastructure facilities of maintaining cold chain at remote places in India, especially the ones which suffer from electricity supply. So this is one area where vaccines could be kept in proper cold chain and their integrity maintained. If that could be introduced, I do not know whether the government of India has really given enough thought to this, or whether the other NGOs active in this field could play any role in this. But this is something definitely that could be introduced in India, and maybe considering the expanse of India and the requirement of units that could go up, even a local assembly kind of an activity would be good business.
That brings me to the last question as a moderator here, and addressed to Harish. Do you feel that vaccine penetration would go up if this issue of thermostability would be properly or duly addressed or made it zero?
I think, hello? Hello. I think the vaccine penetration is really an issue of political will. I think it has less to do with this, and the low-cost solution in my mind is have a good health minister and a good finance minister. Okay, that would go a much, much longer way than almost anything else you can do, because it's really about political will and interest in caring for people. It's really visionary leadership that's required. I will absolutely not, I mean, even though I said that cold chain is a factor, but certainly seem to have done miracles with OPV. Although it's much delayed, we need not have had this at all. So it's all looking at it in context. But other countries around you have done a fabulous job with much less infrastructure, with much less economic growth rate. It really is a political will issue in my mind.
I would just like to add to this. A very interesting aspect of this is that in elections that are held in South America, immunization campaigns are one of the points that are mentioned in their election manifesto by different parties. So I do not know if such a issue can come up in India, provided our own candidates know about immunization.